You're watching the ASUS ROG Zephyrus M16 Disassembly. If you need any tools, there are links in the description. There are 13 Phillips screws which need to be removed. Once all the screws have been removed, we need to pop all the catches along the edges of the back housing. Now the back housing can be removed. On the inside of the back housing, there's some copper tape over here, some over here, and some foam padding over here. So at this point, before we do anything else, the battery cable has to be disconnected. In order to disconnect the battery cable, there's a latch over here. We're going to slide it up, which is going to unlock the latch. Now the cable can be lifted up and disconnected. There are 4 Phillips screws holding down the battery which need to be removed. Now the battery can be lifted up and removed. Here's a better look at the battery. In order to remove the RAM, there are 2 latches, one on each side, which need to be pulled away from the RAM stick in order to release the RAM. Now the RAM can be removed. The M.2 NVMe SSD is located right over here, and there's a thermal pad laying on top of it. In order to remove this, there's 1 Phillips screw located over here, holding it down, which needs to be removed. Now once the screw is removed, the SSD can be removed as well. Just to note, there is also a thermal pad underneath the SSD. It's time to remove the Wi-Fi modem. There's 1 Phillips screw located over here, which needs to be removed. These 2 wire cables or coaxial cables can be disconnected by just popping them off. Now the Wi-Fi modem can be lifted up and removed. The power connector for each of the fans are located underneath the heat pipes. So it would be easier to remove the heat pipe assembly entirely so you gain access to the connectors, but if you don't want to risk messing with the liquid metal or thermal paste, you can still leave the heat pipes intact and not remove them. It's just going to be more difficult to remove the fans that way. So the connector for this fan is located right over here underneath this heat pipe, and the one for this fan is located over here underneath this heat pipe. You can gently lift up the heat pipe so it gives you some room to disconnect the cable by sliding it out towards the fan. Once both cables have been disconnected, each fan has 2 Phillips screws which need to be removed. Now the fans can be lifted up and removed. Now we can start disconnecting the cables on the board. We can disconnect the speaker cable by pulling it out. This would be the screen cable over here. Once we peel this off, we can slide it out. Now we can slide out this cable over here. These 4 flex cables over here have these black locks over here on them. They need to be lifted up in order to unlock. Once those are unlocked, you could pull out and remove the cables. There's 1 more flex cable over here on the top, which has a lock as well. Just lift it up, and the cable can be slid out. There are 2 Phillips screws holding down the main board. Once those are removed, we can lift up and remove the main board or motherboard. Taking another quick look at the motherboard, here are your 2 M.2 SSD slots, your RAM slot's located right over here, and the slot for the Wi-Fi modem is located right over here. Here's a connector for the power jack, the HDMI connector, the Ethernet connector over here for the internet, a USB port over here, and 2 USB-C ports right here. And the headphone jack and mic input is located right over here. You also have another USB port over here on this side. If you want to remove the heat pipe assembly over here, which sits on top of the processor and GPU, there are 8 Phillips screws holding it down which need to be removed in order to be able to remove that heat pipe assembly. I'm personally not going to remove it since I don't want to mess around with the liquid metal and I don't want to have to reapply it. And here's a look at the other side of the motherboard. There's a memory card reader located over here underneath, and we can see the heat sinks over here which exhaust the heat for the heat pipes. They look pretty cool. Now in order to remove the touchpad, there are 3 Phillips screws located over here which need to be removed. Once the screws are removed, we can lift up and remove the touchpad. To remove the keyboard, we need to peel off this film over here covering the screws. There are a total of 71 Phillips screws holding down the keyboard. Now finally, once all those screws have been removed, we can lift up and remove the keyboard. So moving on, there are 2 Phillips screws located over here, holding on this plastic bracket over here, which is holding the power button in place. Once those screws are removed, we can lift up this plastic bracket or cover, and then we can lift up the flex cable for the power button. And there's some adhesive over here, which peel it off and remove that. Now in order to separate the mid-frame from the screen assembly, there are 3 Phillips screws on each of the hinges which need to be removed. Once those screws are removed, we can lift up and then we can remove this mid-frame. And now all we're left with is the screen itself. If you're replacing the screen and it doesn't come with a complete assembly like this, and you have to actually just replace the screen itself, to gain access to it, you'd have to remove this plastic cover over here, and it's only held down with some adhesive around the edges and some clips or catches, which you're gonna have to pop off while you go around the screen assembly. Once you have this plastic border free from the assembly, you can just pull it off. And then you have to heat up the screen a little bit since there's some adhesive holding it down. And then you'd pry your screen off, which would give you access to the 3 Phillips screws on each of the hinge to be able to remove the hinges. Since this is a working screen and I don't want to risk cracking it or breaking it, I'm not going to pry the screen off. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, make sure you like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell so you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. Thanks again for watching guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.